In 1973, a CIA official walked into his office and began destroying thousands of documents that could expose the darkest secret in American history. What he was hiding was Project MKUltra, a real program where the CIA experimented on American citizens without their knowledge or consent. The question everyone wants answered is simple. How did the American government get away with this for over 20 years? Today, we're diving into the declassified files to uncover the shocking truth behind MKUltra. And trust me, it's more disturbing than you think. Our story begins in 1953, at the height of the Cold War, when America was gripped by a fear that seems almost unimaginable today. The Soviet Union and China were reportedly brainwashing American prisoners of war, and the CIA became obsessed with one terrifying question. Could enemy nations control the human mind? And more importantly, could America do it first? The CIA's answer was Project MKUltra, and what they did in pursuit of that answer would haunt America for generations. To understand MKUltra, we need to go back to World War II, when the Nazis conducted horrific experiments that the world rightfully condemned. But here's what most people don't know. After the war, America secretly recruited many of those same Nazi scientists through Operation Paperclip. These scientists brought their expertise in psychology, medicine, and yes, human experimentation, directly into American intelligence agencies. In April 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized a new program with a cryptic codename, MKUltra. The stated goal was innocent enough: develop techniques to extract information from enemy agents during interrogation. But the real objective was far more sinister: complete mind control and the creation of programmable human assassins. The CIA established over 80 institutions to conduct these experiments: universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. And here's the most disturbing part. Most of the test subjects had absolutely no idea they were part of an experiment. The program was overseen by a man named Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist who became known inside the CIA as the Black Sorcerer. Gottlieb had virtually unlimited funding and almost no oversight, a dangerous combination that would lead to unthinkable experiments. MKUltra was divided into 149 separate sub-projects, each exploring different methods of mind manipulation. These included hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and various forms of torture. But the substance that became synonymous with MKUltra was LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. LSD had been synthesized in Switzerland in 1938, but its powerful effects on human consciousness weren't fully understood until the 1940s. The CIA became fascinated with LSD because in tiny doses, just millionths of a gram, it could completely alter someone's perception of reality. The CIA wanted to know if LSD could be used as a truth serum, a means of torture, or even a way to reprogram someone's beliefs entirely. So they began a massive testing program, and the first people they experimented on were their own agents and military personnel. CIA employees were given LSD without their knowledge during office parties and meetings, just to see what would happen. One of these experiments would end in tragedy. A CIA scientist named Frank Olson was dosed without his consent in 1953. 9 days later, Olson fell to his death from a New York City hotel window. The CIA claimed it was suicide. Decades later, evidence would suggest Olson's death may not have been suicide at all. But we'll come back to that. But the CIA didn't just experiment on their own people. They needed to test LSD on unsuspecting civilians too.
So the CIA set up something called Operation Midnight Climax. And yes, that's its real name.
The CIA rented apartments in San Francisco and New York, furnished them like brothels, and hired prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men inside. Once inside, the men were secretly dosed with LSD, and CIA agents watched through two-way mirrors, documenting everything. These men had no idea they were being drugged and observed. They thought they were just on a date. But Operation Midnight Climax was just one of many programs. The CIA also tested LSD in prisons across America. Prisoners were offered reduced sentences or extra privileges if they volunteered, but they had no idea what they were actually signing up for. In one Kentucky prison, inmates were dosed with LSD every day for 77 days straight. The CIA also targeted vulnerable populations. people they thought no one would believe. In Canadian psychiatric hospitals, a doctor named Ewan Cameron conducted some of the most disturbing experiments under MKUltra funding. Cameron believed he could erase people's memories and rebuild their personalities from scratch, a process he called psychic driving. His patients were put into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time, while recordings of repeated messages played in their ears.
Some messages were played thousands of times. "You are a good wife and mother," or "people like you," over and over and over.
When patients finally woke up, many couldn't remember their families, their lives, or even who they were. These weren't criminals or enemy agents. They were ordinary people seeking help for depression or anxiety. The CIA had created a network of institutions where American citizens could be experimented on without anyone knowing. For 20 years, MKUltra remained completely hidden until a single commission started asking uncomfortable questions. In 1975, the Rockefeller Commission was investigating CIA abuses when they stumbled onto something that had been buried for decades. They found references to Project MKUltra, a program that officially didn't exist and had supposedly been terminated years earlier. But remember that CIA official destroying documents back in 1973? That's because the CIA knew investigations were coming. Most of MKUltra's records were deliberately destroyed, and we'll never know the full extent of what they did. But enough documents survived to piece together the horrifying truth, and for the first time, the public finally saw what their government had done. The revelations sparked national outrage. Congressional hearings were held, and victims began coming forward with their stories.
Some victims testified about losing years of their lives, their memories, and their identities to experiments they never consented to.
Remember Frank Olson? In 1975, his family learned he'd been dosed with LSD before his death. But decades later, forensic evidence would suggest Olson didn't jump. He was pushed, possibly to silence him about MKUltra. The government eventually paid Olson's family $750,000 and issued an official apology, but that couldn't bring him back. Congress established new oversight rules and officially banned human experimentation without informed consent. But here's the uncomfortable question. Did MKUltra's experiments actually produce any useful results for the CIA? The answer appears to be no. Despite 20 years and countless victims, the CIA never achieved reliable mind control. LSD proved too unpredictable, psychological programming didn't work as hoped, and years of torture yielded no breakthroughs. So thousands of people suffered, families were destroyed, and lives were ended, all for research that ultimately failed. The legacy of MKUltra extends beyond its victims. It fundamentally damaged public trust in government institutions. When people say they don't trust the CIA or other intelligence agencies, MKUltra is a big part of why. MKUltra proves that without oversight, transparency, and accountability, even democratic governments can commit terrible abuses. The reforms that followed MKUltra created the protections we have today, but they only work if we remain vigilant. Project MKUltra reminds us that the line between national security and human rights is one we must constantly defend. The victims of MKUltra never got full justice, but their story serves as a warning we can't afford to ignore. Thanks for watching. If this story shocked you, hit that subscribe button because there are more declassified secrets we need to uncover together.